All right. Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Finally Clicked with one of your co-hosts, Margaret Smith. My counterpart is actually in Mexico right now, enjoying himself and getting some sunshine. And he always jokes about what am I going to do while he's away. And so I can't help but do a podcast with a guest that I didn't tell him about. I'm really excited to introduce you to Lee Papa today. And before I have her introduce herself, I wanted to tell you why I asked her to come on the podcast and then tell you a little bit about how I met her. So I went to the Northwest Events Show here in the Seattle area because I met Stuart Butler, who organizes the event. And I met him through a friend of mine, Melissa Mosher. And so when I talk about networking and I talk about reaching out and making contact with people, this is why. So Melissa led me to Stuart, which led me to the show, which led me to Lee. And in the Northwest Events Show, they had a mindfulness area and a lounge. As soon as I saw that, I said, oh, I'm definitely going there at some time today. And so I went in and did a meditation with Lee and really, really enjoyed it. And so since then, I've made contact with her because I definitely want her to, at some point, come to the Pacific Northwest Operations Retreat, or possibly like do an event in Seattle that I would help organize. I just am such a fan of what you do and what you've gone into. And I think your story will absolutely connect with the audience here on Finally Clicked. So welcome. And thank you so much for saying yes and doing this today.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for having me. I was very excited to accept. The Northwest Event Show was lovely, and Stuart is also very lovely, and
Yeah.
I enjoyed that show very much, and I like what they're doing there. So met a lot of wonderful people, and you included, and so and I love the area. So anytime you want to bring me to the Pacific Northwest, I'm in. That's terrific.
Okay, cool.
So you want me to introduce myself?
Yes, please.
My name is Lee Papa, and the professional version of that introducing myself would be that I am a mindfulness speaker, a keynote speaker. My talk is How to Live and Lead Mindfully. And I am a trainer. I created something called the Mindfulness Lounge for the meetings and events industry to bring mindfulness training, make it accessible to the industry. And I've been doing that, actually brought mindfulness training to the meetings industry in 2014, 15. And I am a private coach. I work privately with clients who want to really dig into their self-observation and be the best expression of themselves. I've created programs, online programs that support more the masses, people that want to really access that information and can work on their own. I create meditation CDs. I have 3, and I'm an author. So that's kind of the broad stroke of what I do professionally, but it's really what I am personally. So years and years ago, I moved from my hometown, Baltimore, and moved to Los Angeles, and I moved without a job. And I remember in that journey wondering what I was going to say to people about what I do, because that's usually kind of like the second question or one of the first questions that you get from people. You know, oh, hi, nice to meet you. What do you do? Right?
Yeah.
And so I had come up with this thing where I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. And that has always been kind of the thread of who I am. I've always been a seeker, always interested in making known the unknown, really knowing what the point of life is. And so I integrate that in all that I do. And so that's who I am. And I have this light that's right along my face. I think we're going to get this passing over over this next hour.
Yeah, I asked Lee if I could take the video of this recording and post it in YouTube, because so many of our listeners are asking for us to YouTube our podcast so they can see the people. And so, it just so happens that the first time I might do it, she has this long stream of light going through, literally through her face.
Which is funny because one of the things that I talk about is letting your light out. right? How
Yeah.
important it is for you to connect with your inner light and to shine it as bright as possible. So
I love that. And I
I
love how you
agree.
describe a spiritual, you said spiritual existence or being in a human experience.
Yes.
I love that. I think, so one of the other things I wanted to mention to people, one of the reasons I also wanted to bring Leah on is because she used to be in the real estate industry.
Mhm.
And so a lot of our audience obviously is in real estate. And the fact that you kind of know what we go through is really interesting to me. And just to make that transition from real estate into mindfulness. How long were you in real estate and what did you do?
Oh, well, let's see. When I moved to Los Angeles, I worked for a real estate consulting company, a strategic planning company. And we started a special division that was more customer service, benchmarking services. And I worked with national corporate real estate companies. So big
Okay.
brokerages, national brokerages, and multi, you know, what do I want to say? Residential, multi-residential companies. And I did that for several years. And then I moved into really doing more consulting on my own for that same sort of business, as far as consulting on benchmarking services, as well as then when I moved to Las Vegas, which is where I am now, years ago, let's see, we're working on about 15 years ago, I started in residential and did residential real estate for several years with my then husband, and realized that that was not my calling. I was more business to business, and the residential real estate I didn't find was in alignment with me, but I did it for several years. But you know, you are dealing with a lot of personalities, you know, with people that are making one of the biggest purchases, most likely of their lifetime,
Yeah.
or selling that purchase where they have, you know, become so personal about their purchase. They lived their life in this home.
Yeah.
They've had
Yeah.
babies in this home. They've celebrated in this home. And so they can't separate that, that connection to what a business transaction is. So, you know, they planted that tree when their
Yeah.
child was born. They don't
Yeah.
understand why the value of that can't translate to a financial value, right?
Mhm.
So that was my biggest challenge when I was in real estate. But yeah, so I find that the more work, no matter what business you do, one of the taglines that I use strongly is stress is not a badge of honor.
Mm.
And we have been programmed, we've been trained mentally, that when you are stressed, or when you promote that you are stressed, that somehow translate to I'm successful,
Mhm.
right? And I want to teach people how to get away from that, because in fact that is not serving anyone to wear
Mm.
stress like a badge of honor. Actually, it's my t-shirt. I started doing t-shirts now. You can see stress is not a badge of honor.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And so that's kind of a personal mission for me, is to support people in owning their own health and well-being through the foundation of mindfulness and meditation, which permeates mind, body, and spirit, and to move away from that old program that doesn't serve anyone.
Mhm.
Right.
I love
So
that.
bravo to your partner who's in Mexico. I'm going to do a shout out to him, because that's awesome. You know, he's
Yeah.
on a little holiday, self-care,
Yeah.
self-love, self-care, support, self-mastery. And that's
Totally.
what we really are here for on the planet
Yeah.
at
It's
this
so
time.
true.
Yeah.
So what prompted you to, or what's led you to start digging into meditation and mindfulness in the beginning?
Well, when I moved to Las Vegas, I really was not in a calm place. I would say I led my life with stress and trauma and drama and chaos every bit of the way. And what I didn't understand is that I was, at the time, is that I was creating all of it, because we create everything based on the vibration that we are. So in other words, quantum physics, this is not woo-woo, this is science-based.
Yeah, I love this. Yeah.
The science behind it is that everything is energy. Everything you touch, feel is energy. We are energy. We are vibration. Tesla supported this and wrote about this many years ago, about that, you know, the kind of the mystery of life dwells in this area of energy, frequency, and vibration. So we are energy, frequency, vibration. What we are vibrating, what level we are vibrating at, dictates what's happening in our external world. So if our external world is not optimal, which mine was not, but I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know it was based on what was going on inside of me. So case in point, I would say, you know, I'm sick all the time. Everything that comes down the pike, I get. So if you are sneezing over there, don't get near me because I'm going to get it. Right. So what happened? I got it. Right.
You've got it.
My
Yeah.
belief system was that I would get sick no matter what. So I was always sick. Until I owned my program, my vibration, my frequency, the loop that was going on in my head, until I changed that and took ownership, then things wouldn't change. But then it started to change because I did that. But the broader level of the transformation was that I actually had a near-death experience. And I went to what those who have had near-death experiences would say, going to the light. And I had a profound experience that changed absolutely everything for me. So when I came back with the knowledge and the wisdom that I gleaned from that experience, I shifted everything. I closed the business that I had had, which was a real estate magazine and a publication, an online publication. And I just started going within, started really journeying about what my life's purpose was, and moved into understanding what energy was, what energy healing is. I don't know if you're familiar with Reiki. Became a Reiki master. I ended up opening up a wellness center in Las Vegas with 2 rooms. And then that became, it was in an executive suite. And it became 4, 6, 12, 13 rooms in an executive suite, and then transitioned into 6,000 square feet of a wellness center of its own, you know, own contiguous space. And it was powerful learning experience. It was profound. By the time that we were open 6 years, we did over 4,000 classes, and tens of thousands of people came through there. And that's when I really deepened my understanding of meditation, mindfulness, energy work. What I learned through that time is really everybody that came was seeking something. They were seeking relief in some capacity. The story was different, but the basis was the same. They were suffering in some way, and they were looking for relief. And what I found that served absolutely everyone and helped soothe them was a basis in mindfulness and meditation. And then it evolves beyond that. But it's all part of the journey. And this is funny, this light, isn't it? It's like right in the middle now. So the basis of that, and to really understand that the journey itself is so delicious, and to not constantly grasp for the end result.
Yeah. That is probably what I'm trying to get a handle on completely myself too, because I know that the journey is really where it's at. That's really what you're supposed to be paying attention to, be present to. Can you talk a little bit about your near-death experience? And just because I'm purely curious, like,
Sure.
What did you feel? What did you see? What happened?
Sure. I actually, I wrote a book about it called The Temple of All Knowing. And I I don't promote that in my business world.
Okay.
But I did it really because I didn't want to lose the value of that experience over time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was the most profound thing that has ever happened in my life. And I have a child, and most people would say that having a child is profound, but this is, you know, this is what your soul's purpose is doing
Mm-hmm.
here. So I wrote this book. I just recently took it off of the print version for Amazon because I'm going to do a second edition
Okay.
for that this year. So if anyone's interested in that journey, I think you can still get it on Kindle. And if you reach out to me, I'm actually happy to send it to you in PDF form. And then when my new website will relaunch in February, and then you'll be
Okay.
able to access that on my website, as well as the print version when we do the second edition. But so that's leepapa.com if you want to reference
Okay.
that. So basically, I was in that space where chaos, drama, trauma. I was in a marriage that was less than optimal. There were major challenges. I had a beautiful, or I should say my ex-husband and I had this beautiful child who was 3 years old at the time. And my elderly mother had come to live with us, and there were some major challenges around that. Didn't expect what the path that was going to take, and what that really meant to be a caretaker. And she was showing signs of dementia that I didn't understand was dementia. So there were some serious things going on there. So trauma, drama, lots of major challenge. And then when we had just moved to this area, my husband my then husband had been in a major car accident. He was sitting at a light, and a truck never stopped and rear-ended him. And so that changed the trajectory of this man's life, and all that leads to lawsuits, major pain, chronic debilitation, blah, blah, blah. So all of that was going on. And then I got sick, because I did that at the time. And this was at home. And my husband had wanted to go on a retreat to try to help him through this process of this debilitating pain, the depression, everything that was going on. And so he was away. It was called a Vipassana meditation. If you're not familiar with that, it's noble silence. So you go in for 10 days and you don't communicate. There's no electronics, there's no calling, there's no anything. So he was gone. And I was sick with some sort of upper respiratory thing. And he had asked me. At that time, I was really moving more towards holistic wellness approaches, which is what my family was really based in anyway. My mom always believed in that. And so I was trying to move away from antibiotics and that kind of medicine, and really caring for my physical body. But he was concerned that I was really sick. And so he asked me to please go to the doctor and get some antibiotics. And I did that. And he checked out. He was in, I think, Denver or Colorado somewhere. And then we made that last phone call. And then within 24 hours, I was gravely ill. The antibiotics did not kick in. Nothing was working, to the point where I was lying in my bed. My 3-year-old son was somewhere in the house. My mother, who, when you live with someone, especially an elderly person, I would suspect this was the experience that I had, but my mom was always there. And for some reason at this particular time, she was nowhere to be found. And I was at a point where I was whispering. I had I'd gotten in touch with my doctor again and said, this medication isn't working. I'm very, very ill. Is there anything that can be done? I was getting scared, actually. And he said he was going to call in a new prescription. I never was able to get to that new prescription. I was able to get in touch with my girlfriend, who was actually my son's godmother, and said, please, can you come get him? And she did. And as soon as that was taken care of, I felt my spirit leave my body. and I went into this place of that I knew was I was letting go. And I went to the light, and I was a vibrational being in a space of vibration. Everything was the whitest and brightest and the most extraordinary lightning strike white you can ever imagine. There was no attachment. This was very profound. Feelings of deep, deep love, which we can't even conceive of. The level of love is not what we think of love. And I was met by these two light beings who, one presented in a female energy, one presented in a male energy, but when they communicated with me, it was telepathic, and it was sometimes they morphed in and out of one thought and then two separate thoughts. And so I was like, it felt like I was in some sort of in-between state, like a platform, like a train station, right?
Mm-hmm.
And although it was all white light, so it wasn't a physical space. And I describe it in the book as like, woohoo, like I was done, like I made it, right? And there was like, I did not want to come back. And so there was no attachment. So, if you can imagine, if anyone has children, you have attachment to your children, but there was no attachment. And these light beings communicated that it was not my time, and it was important to come back for my son, that he would not have been able to reach his life's purpose and goal if I would go. It would be very traumatic for him. And I go into a lot of detail, as you can imagine, in the book about what that feels like, and that process. I went through kind of some people call it a life review, but this was more of a relationship review, where a relationship vibration would run through me, and I would feel the wisdom and knowledge of that experience of that relationship, and the love of that relationship. Never any negativity, never any attachment, never any woulda, coulda, shoulda, none of that. Just the pure essence of love and the value of the experience. And then that person's energy would wash away, and then the next person would come. And they left my son for the last, and then they had me experience what my son would feel at the loss of his mother. And that's what did it. It felt like shards of glass ripping through my soul. It was just horrific, and you wouldn't wish that on anyone, much less a child. And so I came back, which I had complete. I was able to make the decision myself, so I had free will whether I wanted to stay or go. But they supported me with all the knowledge of what that decision would mean. And so I came back, not only with supporting my son, so that he can become who he is becoming, and have his experiences and what his choice is. And also I came back with kind of my marching orders to help support humanity in the way that I do now.
Wow, that's an incredible experience. I was wondering, as you were talking about being and they were having you experience the different relationships and kind of go through a review, I was wondering if they were giving you the choice, like you said, to either come back or not.
Right.
And so you had to make that decision to choose to come back.
Yeah. And I'm certainly glad that I did. Even though the other side is the bomb. I don't know if they say that anymore. Like, I don't know what the new term is.
No, it totally is okay.
Yeah, but we are here. I came back with, I was gifted with the understanding of what our purpose is, and its experience. It's making known the unknown. It's about understanding who we truly are as spiritual beings having a physical experience, and bringing this knowledge of experience back to our source energy. And whatever that is for you is your experience. So you can say that that's God, source, spirit, creator, the divine, energy, all-knowing you, higher self, whatever it is that is for you, that's your experience. And one of the kind of cool things that when I was writing the book, I wrote quite a bit of it at a extraordinary place in California. It's one of my most special places on the planet. And it's called Three Rivers, just outside of Sequoia National Park. And I have a friend who has a beautiful inn called Rio Sierra River House. Only has a few rooms, so if you want to check that out, you better book early. Give her a little shout out. I was writing the book there, and I was at a little coffee shop down the road, and I was standing in line, and a woman turns around and says, "Are you Lee Papa?" Which kind of was surreal for me. And I was like, "Yeah." It's like, "Do I owe you money?" Like, you know. And she said, "I understand you're here writing a book." And she said, "It's about your near-death experience." And she said, "Can I tell you about mine?" Absolutely. So she started to tell me about, it really wasn't her near-death experience, it was her husband's. But she was so passionate about it. It was like she was describing it as her own near-death experience. And she and her husband were very Christian. And so her husband's experience is that he met Jesus. And she described this experience, which was very kind of Christian based. And by the way, I was born and raised Catholic, so there was that. But I was listening to this story, and then she said, "I am so glad that we were right." And I took that information, and I'm like, pondered that, got our coffee, we parted our ways, went back to writing the book, and actually put a bit of that in the book, because I thought, here's my experience, and it was the most profound thing in my life. And there was no one that was going to tell me that that wasn't real, or that wasn't exactly what I knew that experience was going to be. And yet her husband had the same experience, but very different experience. So is our death, and I kind of use that in air quotes because we don't die, that transition, our experience based on what our belief system is, right? So we're always creating. And so that brings us back to what our belief system is now is what we're creating in our reality. If we create, or if we believe that life is hard, that's your program, that's your belief system. You're going to have a life that's hard. If you believe that life is magical, which I do, life is magical.
It makes me want to cry how happy I love the way that you put it. I mean, everybody words things differently, and the way that it's very eloquent, it's very clear, that's exactly what I believe and what I talk about. And what I'm integrating now is this more spiritual aspect of it that I feel like has really changed for me over the last, I would say, 2 or 3 years that I've been diving into that. It's like, and I feel like that's exactly what people need to learn, and what you need to teach, and what needs to be integrated into how society and the world are operating at a higher. It's not about one way or the other. It's about what you want to create is what will manifest, and what your life's going to be. So I love how you put that. I think it's beautiful, and it's it just makes, that's exactly what I feel is right, which is exactly however we want to create it.
Yeah, and it probably speaks to you because you know it is my truth speaking through. It's not something that I'm pretending to be. It is who I am, and it is my truth. And that's what I wish for everyone, is to live their life in their truth. That authenticity and the transparency of that authenticity. We are, moving away from wearing these masks of who we thought we were supposed to be. Speaking of the t-shirts, one of them that I created is spirit first, human second. And so when you talk about spirituality, this is not about religion.
No.
This is about understanding science and spirituality have bridged a gap. That's where we are. We are spirit, and that is science. We are vibration, that is science. And when we get that, and everybody will get that at different times. So it's not about, dragging someone along, right? We
Yeah.
just lead by example. And when that
Yeah.
light goes off, we just keep seeding it by
Yeah.
being the example. And when the light goes off, that switch, is switch, then people will have that aha about
Yeah.
themselves.
I think this happened, I know it happened in the Mindfulness Lounge at the Northwest event. There was a guy sitting to my right, like 3 chairs down, and he asked you, he said, how can I get my wife to listen to
Oh,
this?
yeah, I
How
remember.
can I get my wife to meditate? And I loved your, I mean, you said exactly that to him. You said you can't drag anybody along. And I think just by living the example that you're living, that's all that you can do. But he was so, I think people, and myself included, we want to help people and we want to show them what we see, and yet you can't really, or you can only by, I guess, acting and walking the walk and being yourself, speaking your truth.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
And just daily working on your own vibration, because it is a process, and you never arrive. So when I love the word enlightenment, right? And people seeking enlightenment, and that's certainly on my lists. But I think that for me, and others may see this differently, but for me, when I've reached enlightenment, I am no longer in physical form. So, there may be enlightened people out there, and you're in the process of being enlightened, but that's something that that's down the road for me. Right. I still have a lot of work to do. So every day I look at what area I can shine the light on.
Okay.
And because that is the foundation of my life, then obstacles come my way so that I can see what needs to be worked on. So we look at conflict and we look at obstacles the wrong way. We all want a easy sailing, smooth life, but how sad that would be, because you don't learn anything,
Yeah.
right? So when we have contrast, which I love the word contrast, because
Good one.
that encompasses everything that you would consider as negative. Conflict, obstacles, challenges, all of that contrast. Contrast brings clarity. So how do you know what light is if you haven't understood darkness?
Yeah.
Right? So contrast brings clarity, and it is our greatest teacher. So what I support my students, my coaching clients, to do with contrast is to embrace it.
Yeah.
And when you really practice it, when you see contrast comes your way, you no longer are in a place of resistance. You are in a place of embracing that for what it's showing you. And when you have the eyes to see that the contrast is bringing clarity, then it moves away faster, because contrast will not leave you until you have learned the lesson.
I love the idea of using that word contrast. Yeah. Everybody always wants clarity. So it's like, why would you not embrace what will bring you that?
That's right. And it does.
So
Absolutely.
what do you do to work on your vibration daily?
Meditation, right? We love meditation, and it doesn't mean that you have to sit crisscross applesauce for an hour. It is about practicing on a consistent daily basis to quiet the mind. I kind of giggle when I'm doing a mindfulness lounge and people come in and they're like, oh my goodness, you're so peaceful. You're so calm. You have such a calm presence. Because I'm always joking to myself inside, because I'm like, they didn't know me 10 years ago, because that was not who I am. But that's who I am now, is, I am a calm person, and my life is calm. But I keep at it by my meditation practice. And mindfulness, let me just give clarity about what mindfulness is. Mindfulness at its simplest form equals awareness, awareness of your thoughts and your actions and the world around you in non-judgment. So just that little phrase, awareness and non-judgment, is something that you will practice for the rest of your life, and it will be a noble pursuit. And it's something that you practice within yourself. So who do we judge the most? Ourselves, right?
Ourselves, yeah.
So we start there. We start in that awareness and non-judgment. So you have triggers, we all do, and of unworthiness or not good enough. And so when that comes up, when that arises within you, bringing your awareness, oh, that's what she's talking about. That's that place where I have that inner program that I'm not good enough or that I'm not worthy enough. So I'm going to, one of the things that I teach is a technique called cancel clear. I'm going to cancel clear that. I'm going to become word aware and cancel clear that thought. And I'm going to reframe that because I'm reprogramming myself to something that is going to move away from that old program. And I'm going to create a new program that is that I am not only worthy, but I am that. I am love. I am acceptance. I am creating the deliberate life that I desire. And I do that from a place of empowerment. And when you realize that your light, there is nothing that you are not enough of because you are light. That is part of the greater light. There is nothing negative about that. And if you have a negative experience, that's just the contrast that is pointing you away to the light and that light of who you are. So meditation, awareness of your thoughts and your actions, and gratitude. Being grateful for every moment of every day, every experience, even those that you would consider negative, because again, that's contrast, which is showing you the way. And that's all our greatest teacher. So those are the three main ways to keep your vibration high. And then, of course, other things that will support you are, I'm a firm believer and a big fan of energy work, having Reiki energy done, but I prefer that individuals actually get Reiki themselves. And what I mean by that is go through the Reiki 1 training, because there are three to four levels, depending on how they are broken up. Reiki 1 is all about your own self-healing and self-awareness and activating that energy flow within yourself. Reiki 2 is more about becoming a practitioner, and Reiki 3 is about becoming a teacher and a master so that you can teach others. And but Reiki 1 is really about your own self-healing. And I just think that if every human on the planet was initiated into Reiki 1, we would have far less conflict in the world.
Yeah. Okay, I love that. And I love that you talked about the habit of just the consistency of practicing meditation every single day. It doesn't have to be an hour. It can be
Right. 10 minutes.
in little spots here. And
yeah.
I've only been doing it it's about a year and a half. And it's the book Miracle Morning that got me started on it. And I didn't think much. I'd heard about meditation forever, but I had never been one to sit in silence as much as I love silence. And so when I started practicing it, I can honestly say, and I've told people this, like it's been one of the biggest changes that I've seen over the last 15 or 16 months. It's so incredible. And I think what I asked you in the Mindfulness Lounge, I asked you about, I see colors when I'm meditating. And so I was wondering if you've ever, I know you said that you had when you responded to me in the lounge there, but I'm wondering if you've ever had any of those light experiences when you've meditated, similar to what you experienced when your soul left your body.
First of all, bravo to you for being in meditation practice, because I don't think you realize that not only that it is life-changing for you, but as you raise your vibration like that, you are part of the collective of raising the vibration of the planet. I mean, that's how powerful it is. One of the kind of common testimonials that I get throughout the years and through really thousands and thousands of people that have hundreds of thousands that have listened to my meditations, they have said life-changing. Meditation is life-changing, and it doesn't cost you a penny. So love that. So meditation can lead to all kinds of amazing experiences. Just as easily, you can have no experiences, but just be in a place, you know, that you can call the gap, right? Just that nothingness. So often people see color, and purple is a big color that people see because it's associated with the crown chakra. And on my new website, I have a program, just an audio program that is all about the chakras, and highly recommend that. Also, Insight Timer, if it's a free meditation app. I have a little blurb on that and some meditations on that platform that are about chakra clearing. And we could do a whole nother show on chakras, so I won't go deep into that. But the crown chakra is about your connection to your spiritual connection, the higher self, creator, God, source, the divine, universe, spirit, whatever it is that you want to call. But that's why a lot of people see purple when they're meditating. But there are 7 major chakras, and each one is associated with a particular color. So sometimes when you're seeing a particular color, it may be because that's what is being activated and that's what's being worked on during that meditation. And I've had extraordinary experiences in meditation. I've also had lots and lots of extraordinary experiences that are just sitting in silence. And both of them have major value. So I have had an experience where I've been off planet during a meditation. I've been on a red planet, and that was pretty powerful. I've seen color. I've seen white and nothingness. I have never had the same experience as when I went with my near-death experience.
Yeah, I think what you said about doing it no matter what, and that's probably part of the journey that you have to learn, but I've realized there's some mornings where I'll do a certain meditation and I feel energy moving through me, and I have a little bit of fear around it, I think. So I've allowed myself to just sit there and be in it. And the next morning I'm like, let's do the same one. Let's make it happen again. And no, there's nothing. Like,
right. It's the universe's way of laughing at you, because it's like, oh, you're going to have attachment to that experience. Well, I think in one of my keynotes, I think I said, it's like, if you're a golfer, it's like that amazing golf shot that took you 10 years to have, and it was that sweet spot, and it went exactly where you wanted it to go, and then you think you're going to have that same shot again, and you will never have that same shot again. It's the same thing, and it's just it's a lesson of non-attachment. Now, here's the other thing where you said that were the energy was running through. You may have visions. People may come to you that have passed on, or you may have experiences of having what we would call a master, whether that's Jesus or Buddha or some other master come to you in a meditation. And the first time that it happens, you want to grasp for it. You want to reach for it. You want to, you're like, oh, something's happening. I see it. And then as soon as you go to grasp, it goes away. Have you ever had that experience?
Mm-mm.
So again, it's a lesson of attachment and reach. So it's about being in the surrender space instead of reaching. And it's a great lesson for what we do here as humans about reaching, right? When we reach, it's really coming from a place of lack. You get that?
Yeah.
Because if you're reaching for something, it's something that you're feeling like, I don't have that, I want to grasp it. And so let's bring this back to real estate. You want to close that deal. You already attached to that deal. You've already spent the money, right? All of that is coming from a place of lack.
Yeah.
And when you do that, either you have major problems in the deal, and it may eventually happen, or you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about keeping your vibration in a space of abundance and empowerment, gratitude, and keeping your vibration high. And there's a great little vibrational scale, Esther Hicks and Abraham Hicks. There was a book called Ask and It Is Given, and there's a chart in it about the vibrational scale of emotion, and you can Google it and find it. And in that, it shows kind of your value system of your emotion. So the higher on the vibrational scale is like bliss, and of course joy, happiness, and then down below would be, you know, fear, depression. So you work your way up the vibrational scale, and you want to stay in that higher vibration always, to be able to create and manifest. And so staying away from that place of reaching when you're, you know, especially when you're in sales.
Oh yeah.
You know?
And I also saw on your website that you have some information about nutrition as well, which when I was curious about it, because I went and spoke at an event in October, and before I left, a guy just walked by me and he suggested a book to me to read. And I had talked a little bit about intuition in my presentation. And he didn't give me his name or anything. He just said, you should read this book. And it was called like Refuge and something else. And so I looked it up later, and it's all about nutrition. And so that's what I've started looking at more is I'm always trying to improve what I put into my body, but I'm definitely not the best at it consistently. And so I think I'm beginning to realize that also food and things obviously not only affect your body physically, but energetically. And
Absolutely.
so I was curious about what you had on your website that you recommend people.
Well, you know, it's mind, body, and spirit for a reason. You're a spiritual being having a physical experience, and this is your vessel, right? It's your sacred vessel that is holding your spirit. But it's a tool also. And in my program, Mindful Makeovers, I teach you how to use the body to signal you, to really connect with your spirit, your higher self, and your body to support you in decision-making and understanding. Your body will tell you what you want, what it wants in it, right? And it has to do with kinesiology. So I have always been somebody in the past, I'm gonna reframe that. I'm gonna cancel, clear it, and reframe it. In the past, I had been a person that struggled with constant exercise, whereas I was never a big fan of exercise, and adrenal fatigue was always a challenge. And I think a lot of people have that, and hormonal imbalances because of that adrenal fatigue, because I was always a doer. I didn't spend a lot of time being. And so I started first on spirit and worked with spirit, then worked with mind and spirit, and then added the body part. And so now I'm spending more time and being more conscious about what I put in my body. I just went through a major cleanse. I did a juice cleanse, and I recommend that highly for anyone. Of course, I have to do the the disclaimer, you need to check with your doctor first to make sure that you can do that. But I found it very powerful. It cleansed, it detoxed me. We're getting hit with so many, you know, things to detox our body, so many toxins, from the air to electronics to the food that we eat. And so, you know, that's a very powerful thing to do. But you had asked, it's funny that I intuitively knew you were going to ask me about this. So I found this product because I travel so much, and I was at the mercy of what foods were at the hotel or while I was traveling. And I love food. So, and I don't always make the best choices, you know, like I love that sticky bun. I think I'm going to have that for breakfast with coffee. So I found this product that was introduced to me by my naturopath, and it's called Purite. And you can find the link on my website, and it's superfood, and it's organic. And I won't go into all the details about it, but what I loved is that I got that little plastic shaker that all I have to do is either use water, or I can get, sometimes I travel with nut milk that I can get at almost any store now, like a cashew milk or an almond milk that's not sweet. and there's breakfast. And I feel amazing on that. And when I start my day with that, I'm not craving caffeine. I'm not craving sweets. I'm not craving bread. And if there isn't a better choice, I can have it again for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
So I highly recommend that product, and I really love what they're about, because it's not only organic, but they give back. For every pouch that you purchase, they give back to feed kids and to feed people in the world. So in your area, by the way. The other thing is that this is like a travel pack. So there's a larger pouch that I keep in the refrigerator, and then this one, this will last me a week. So I don't, I made the mistake once and got the bigger pouch, and it was already opened. And then that was fun to get through security, and they had to go test it. And I'm like, oh, note to self not to do that again. So I just travel with this one. And then by the time I'm back, I've already finished it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time anymore. We're almost to the hour, but is there, what's coming up for you? Yeah. What's coming up for you in the next couple months? I'll put links to your website and everything.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I travel about twice a year to meetings and events and do mindfulness lounges and keynotes to support the events industry. The new website is going to launch, which will have a plethora of items. I think I'm up to over 150 fun t-shirts and products, sweatshirts, and fun to support it's really an affirmation to support your mindfulness practice. So reminders, stress is not a badge of honor, and conflict or contrast brings clarity, and things like that. I'm also launching a new book. So excited about that. That is a mindfulness-based book with a publisher. And so more on that to come, but that launches May 19th. And you'll see more and more about that. And I highly encourage everybody to go to the website. My main website is leepapa.com, but I have more of the coaching arm of a website called Live Mindful Lee, and that's L-E-E at the end. So Live Mindful Lee, Lee.com. And you can download the free book, which is a roadmap, or the roadmap to living mindfully, understanding self-love, self-care, self-mastery. So roadmap to living mindfully, understanding self-love, self-care, and self-mastery. And that free booklet will really get you on your way. So it lays down all the foundation. And then you can also access the online programs, Mindful Makeovers, and then A Year of Living Mindfully, you can access there as well. So that's a lot.
It's all really good stuff, though. I'm definitely going to check it out myself.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share on this platform. And if there's anything that I can answer for you and, your viewers, please feel free to reach out to me via email, lee@leepapa.com. If I can answer any questions for you, happy to do so.
All right. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Have an awesome day, and nourish yourself mindfully and give from the overflow.